9 behaviors that push people away from you. Do you sometimes struggle to connect with others or maintain relationships? Certain habits and behaviors, even unintentional ones, can negatively impact how people perceive you and make them distance themselves. In this insightful video, we reveal the 9 most common behavioral patterns identified by psychologists and scientists that tend to push people away. From interrupting conversations to false modesty, putting your problems above others, excessive talkativeness, smugness, constant negativity, over-criticalness, extreme niceness, and name-dropping. We break down why these traits are off-putting and provide practical tips on how to avoid them. Whether you're looking to improve your social skills, build stronger connections, or simply understand what behaviors to steer clear of, this comprehensive guide is a must-watch. Learn to identify and overcome these alienating tendencies and discover how to be a more likable, approachable person that others genuinely enjoy being around. Boost your emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and interpersonal relationships by implementing the valuable insights shared in this video. Don't let unconscious habits hold you back from forming meaningful bonds. Subscribe now for more life-changing personal growth content. Pushing people away, social skills, interpersonal relationships, off-putting. Behaviors, emotional intelligence, self-improvement, personal growth, connections tips, likability text. 9 things that push people away from you, guys. What's up, everyone? We're continuing our series with some interesting content, and today we're talking about interacting and relationships with other people. Let's be real, most of us want to be liked by others. I mean, we're social creatures living in a society, but sometimes that's easier said than done. Whether you like it or not, certain behaviors or mannerisms you have might rub people the wrong way. Scientists worldwide are constantly researching to figure out what behavioral patterns tend to push others away. So they've identified 9 behaviors that can make people feel distant from you. First up, interrupting. We'll start with the most obvious one. People hate when you cut them off mid-conversation. Psychologists see interrupting as a sign of disrespect towards the other person, like what you have to say is way more important than what they're saying at that moment. There's a certain self-centeredness, arrogance, and impatience to it. And when you do interrupt someone, not only do you disrupt the flow of the conversation, but you also make them feel less valued. Think about times when you were talking and someone deliberately or accidentally cut you off mid-sentence. Didn't you feel that sudden spike of annoyance because you lost your train of thought and enthusiasm? Yeah, it happens every single time. So the next time you get that urge to interrupt, remember that it's a total people-pushing behavior. The second off-putting conduct is false modesty. I'm sure your circles have those people who say stuff like, "Oh, everyone keeps telling me I'm so beautiful, but I just don't see it." Or, "Oh, I never have time to relax. I'm constantly getting invited to events and parties, not a moment's peace." According to psychologists and scientists, that kind of veiled bragging is a real turnoff for others because it lacks genuineness. People respond way better to those who outright brag and say, "Yeah, I'm a total babe." They're just straight up confident in themselves. But when you try to cover up that boasting with faux humility, it pushes people away. Third, putting your problems above everyone else's. I bet you've encountered folks who, when you share your issues with them, respond with, "Oh, that's nothing." Like you tell them you were really sick or hospitalized for a while, and they're like, "Oh, that's nothing. I was in the hospital for 2 months with all these crazy complications." And then they start one-upping you with their seemingly bigger problems. Or when you mention getting fired or demoted or relationship troubles, they instantly have a million worse stories from their own life. Scientists agree that this behavior pushes people away because, consciously or not, they're undermining your problems compared to theirs. Again, it makes you feel diminished, like your struggles don't matter as much. Naturally, that's going to provoke annoyance and rejection of their dismissive attitude. The fourth off-putting tendency is excessive talkativeness. You know, when you casually ask someone, "How's it going?" and they launch into a 20-minute saga about every single thing happening in their life, usually negative events because people love to vent and complain rather than share positive stuff. And it's just them droning on about how bad things are at work, someone undermining them, health issues here and there, digestive problems. all the stuff you really didn't want to hear about at that moment. Scientists have labeled that kind of oversharing when you feel like the person is just too much as a major turnoff. Subconsciously, when you encounter someone who won't stop talking, you get the impression that they can't be trusted. Numerous big studies have even proven that the more you constantly overshare information about yourself on social media, the more it actually prevents you from really connecting with people and getting to know them better. Instead of strengthening bonds, you end up pushing people away, and they don't form that solid connection you wanted. The fifth type of off-putting behavior is smugness. I'm sure you've heard people say stuff like, "Oh, I would never feed my kids fast food. We only have organic, clean food at home," or "I always donate 10% of my income to charity. I think it's important to help those in need." Or something like, "How can people watch trash TV like The Bachelor or reality shows? You have to watch educational, documentary-style content that actually expands your mind." I'm exaggerating a bit here, but you get what I mean. Those self-righteous statements can really rub people the wrong way. Psychologists conclude that when you hear such smug remarks, it pushes others away because it makes them feel inadequate and insecure in comparison. It breeds self-doubt about their own values. Plus, psychologists say such statements often reveal a person's hypocrisy because more often than not, those ultra-pious folks have double standards, publicly preaching one thing while doing the total opposite at home, lacking authenticity and integrity. No wonder they inspire distrust and actually push people away from them. Another major put-off is constant negativity. Let's be real, nobody likes a whiner or a negative Nancy bringing everyone down. It's been proven time and again that relentless negativity is contagious. It drains your energy, saps your strength, and infects you with that aura of anxiety, fear, and gloom. Just like the opposite effect when you're around an upbeat, happy person, you can't help but become more positive yourself through that interaction. So it's no surprise we try to steer clear of negative people and limit our exposure to those toxic downers as much as possible. The seventh off-putting trait is excessive, constant criticism. I'm talking about those people who are just never satisfied, always nitpicking your behavior, who you hang out with, every little thing. All those constant jabs breed resentment, putting you on the defensive to justify yourself. Psychologists have found that chronic critics tend to be the ones with low self-esteem, narcissistic tendencies, tons of inner demons haunting them. The nitpicking is usually an unconscious coping mechanism to avoid facing their own issues by projecting onto others instead. So if you have someone close whose criticism is really getting to you, let them know their hypercritical remarks are just pushing you away. There's a big difference between constructive feedback and needless, unfounded criticism. How should you respond when criticized? Generally, there are two routes. First, actually listen to the critique and honestly ask yourself if there's any truth to it. If there's no validity whatsoever, then express to the person that their comments are unfair and uncalled for since there's no basis in reality. But if it's random critics, don't even waste your breath or energy. There's a great saying that even if you were a saint walking on water, some people would still say you don't know how to swim. Shrug off arbitrary criticism, it's not worth stressing over. The eighth type of off-putting behavior, and perhaps the most bizarre one, is when someone is too nice. I'm sure you've met those overly sweet people who are excessively polite, constantly apologizing 1,000 times for the most trivial, inconsequential things that really don't warrant an apology. Those kinds of folks make you go, "Really? Is this person actually for real? Can anyone be that infallibly nice?" Scientists have concluded that such extreme niceness rings alarm bells in our self-preservation instincts, making us think it's impossible for someone to be so flawless. It must be a front masking something sinister underneath. You know what they say? Still waters run deep. And the last kind of cringeworthy conduct, one I'm sure you've encountered, is name-dropping. You know, when someone is talking to you and they just casually slip in stuff like, "Oh yeah, I was in the sauna with so-and-so the other day," or "That's my buddy John, we go way back," or "This is my guy, we're super tight, he can hook me up with anything." Scientists have found that the more you sprinkle your conversations with these supposed connections to influential people, flaunting your elite social circles, the less likable you actually come across. Even if your intention was simply to impress, it backfires spectacularly. So the next time you get that urge to attempt to manipulate someone's perception of you by dropping heavyweight names, remember what you just heard? It's an instant repellent. Look, friends, if you realized some of your own behaviors were on this list of no-nos, don't sweat it. Nobody's perfect. The important thing is being self-aware enough to admit, yeah, I can be that way sometimes. I get that it pushes people away now, but I'll try to cut that out because there's so much more to me that I can showcase in positive, healthy ways to actually draw people in. Let me know in the comments if you've encountered folks guilty of these off-putting behaviors and if it truly did rub you the wrong way. Also share any other conduct you find pushes you away from others. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on more interesting content like this. All right, I'm out for now. Catch you on the next one.